Hey Jeff, just I got some new software and I'm just doing a few videos. It actually enables me to do what's called a web lesson, and I've only got one swing of yours, and this is from it's almost a year ago. It's amazing how time has flown, but just kind of wanted to show you a couple of things. This is my buddy Eric Illich on the left, IPGA Player of the Year. He's played on a lot of the mini tours. He's about 33, 34 years old, so really good shape, but he doesn't really do anything physically that most of us can't do. Now, he can get turned a little bit better than we can, but he doesn't do anything crazy. In fact, he's got a couple of golf tees under his arms right here, so it's really tight and compact, and I just want to show you a couple of things. The big thing, just looking at the two swings, is how he sets up with his weight on his lead leg. And it's what we call a centered pivot. And he's going to pivot around that left leg instead of sliding into his right side and then trying to slide back and find the low point, because that's what we're trying to do. Now, if you look at Eric, he's got his golf ball about a club head length inside his left heel. And if we look at you, you've got that thing almost right of your nose, okay? If you had a wedge or 9-iron even, I could see that. That's okay because it's not a pivot-driven swing. But when you've got to create some dynamics with your lower body, your upper body's going to get past that ball. All right. So when I say past it, you're trying to get all your leverage and everything in front, so you can keep your head behind it and still have a real dynamic move with your lower body. What we're going to do is I'm just going to play Eric's swing through one time. Whoops. All right, here we go. And just to show you, he doesn't do anything super crazy. He doesn't even get to parallel, but really pay attention to the dynamics of his lower body and how he really starts that swing with a good sequence pivot. You can see his right leg almost straightens out like we used to see Sam Snead and Ben Hogan and those guys. And trust me, Eric hits it a ton. That's a 6-iron. He probably hits that 6-iron about 185 yards. So, he doesn't have to, this mess about the X factor of coiling against a stable lower body is nonsense. You want to turn those hips. If you can't turn, you can't hardly play. And you can see he turns to about 90 degrees, and that's it. Probably the biggest thing I want you to see is when he gets to impact, I want you to really pay attention to where his hands are in relation to the club head. Alright, so I'm going to play it back just a hair here. There we go. So the fastest point of his swing is when that shaft is straight, or maybe his hands are just a little bit ahead of the club head. Okay, that's what we call lag. Now let's take a look at your swing. Okay, and you kind of sway into your right side, and you never really got off of that right side. Okay, I'm just going to play that through, and you're awful athletic, so that's the good news, especially for an old timer. Alright, so here is where your left arm is straight, and you haven't got to the ball yet. So we're going to see some collapsing going on. There's no way that you can create a consistent divot and hit the low point of the circle consistently when you lose your angles before you hit the ball. And that's just what we call flipping. Right there, you can see it. Look at that. So your right wrist gets flat right there. Okay, I'm going to clean this up a little bit over here on Eric's. Look at his right wrist. He's still got some angle left. Look at your right wrist. It's gone. And that's why we hit it fat and hit it thin and do all that kind of stuff. So you've got to maintain a flat left wrist. And it comes from a dynamic pivot. And if I had a down the line image of your swing, we could really see how you start the swing with your shoulders and arms. And that's kind of what we do. That's how we feel the most powerful. And you can kind of see your hands. See, your hands are working over the top of the plane. If they work down instead of over, that would indicate to me that you're starting the swing with your lower body. But you can see your arms start before your legs do. Alright, now let's watch Eric over here. And watch how his hips almost go before his hands ever get all the way to the top. Right there. See, watch his hips very closely. Alright, they're gonna bump a little bit laterally, and they're gonna rotate. And you can see his elbow is hidden behind his left arm, so that's an indication that it's dropping right down on that hip. Now it's glued to his hip, and now everything turns through at the same time. He's able to hold that angle. That's the lag, that term we hear a lot in golf. Okay, and that club just snaps through at impact. It's controlled by the big muscles of the dynamic pivot. Okay, now one thing I would talk a little bit about, if we look at the top, that's a good position, but look how upright you are. And look at Eric, he's able to and you're strong, so you don't have a good excuse for losing your posture. Okay, look at Eric's club face. And we can see it's pointing towards us. I can see just a little bit of yours, but for the most part, your club face is pointing to the sky, so it's dead shut. And you can tell your turn is not as flat as you think it is. It's because you're upright. If you would bow another 15 or 20 degrees from the waist right here, you'd be almost in an identical position that Eric is from the waist up. But look at his right leg. It's almost straight. Look at yours. And we can also see that you've rolled out to the right side of your foot when his weight is still on the inside of his right foot. So he has something to push off on. You've got to roll and then get everything going the other direction. It's like trying to turn a battleship around in a pond. See? Your hips quit moving about right there. They kind of stall right in there as far as rotational. I mean, that left hip's going higher, but they're not rotating. And that's when the arms and hands pass. See how your right wrist gets flat? Okay, good extension, but it's too late now. You've already hit behind the ball. Even on that one, I think you hit the ground just a little bit. Just a little bit of a drop kick. I wish we had that image from down the line. But anyway, just reply and let me know that you got this. And I'm at the Dome in Addison at Langston T. So if you're interested in doing a little work this winter, give me a holler. Thanks, buddy.